I never thought I'd be a community activist. I never thought I'd be an author. I never thought I'd be a youth mentor. In a nutshell, I never thought I'd be a role model. It all started when I came to the United Kingdom at the age of 9 with my mother, who was severely ill. She was diagnosed with something called sarcoidosis, which attacks the bones, the breathing and the skin. I had to adapt. I had this complex due to the fact that I couldn't speak a word of English. I wanted to fit in like every other kid. Going to secondary school, and I discovered this thing called gangs. I see that people are forming groups. I see that people have some sense of identity, some sense of power, some sense of respect. And I don't fit into any of these groups. You know, you got the athletes. As I said, you got the bad boys, and you got, the other neutral people. I don't fit into any group, and so I don't know my purpose. And I go through secondary school from year 7 to year 11, not really knowing what I am capable of doing, not really discovering my talents. At the age of 16, I take a big decision. I'd say it was a gamble, to be honest, because it was a decision that could literally determine whether I'd stay alive or be dead. Age 16, I see that people are joining gangs to find some identity, and self-purpose. And I also find that the people that don't join gangs become victims, victims to the system of the streets, victims to the streets, victim whether it's through incarceration or death or, no retaliation when something happens to them. So at the age of 16, I take a bold step into becoming a gangster. With every vision, you take steps towards it. And so that's what I was doing. And, I was looking at the people that were rougher, changing my circle of friends, and ultimately, I was a gang member, And that went on for a few weeks, and I had this mask, when you come home, put on this mask, of the good boy towards my mother. And then it became a thing where I couldn't take off this mask anymore. This is who I've become. This is who I've become now. This is my mentality. This is my mindset. The things that, my morals, everything that I was brought up with was casted aside. And now this is the new person I became. I became a person who was in the streets, a person who wanted to terrorize, a person who wanted to earn stripes. If you're from the streets, you know what that means. A person who wanted to earn respect. Yeah? A person who wanted to make money. It didn't matter how it came. Yeah, I had plans. I wanted to be rich before the age of 19. And all these things, it encompassed all these things, the streets. Age of 19, I was invited to a church service by a friend who was also in a gang and that was looking at a lengthy sentence. Got invited to the church service, and I don't know what happened that day, but I was touched by the words of that pastor, and I believe it always happens with mind first, because it's your mind. Your mind is a powerful tool. The mind is what tells you what to do. The mind is what gives you your beliefs. And because I was already groomed into a certain lifestyle, it took that spiritual intervention into my life to transition. And so I was sitting down in that service, and the change started from that day, when the pastor was speaking about life and death. And I realized that actually everything that I had done in the streets didn't mean anything when I would die. I wouldn't be celebrated, for no accomplishment, because anything that I did was illegitimate. So it wouldn't mean anything when I wouldn't be here. So the change started from there, and it was hard because I was a failure in school. I left school with no GCSEs. I left school with no qualification. And in order for me to transition and become become someone of some sort of influence, I didn't know how to go about it. And I started to look, and I started to think, okay, maybe if there was other things that people could do, or if there was alternatives, then maybe I'd be able to come out of this situation and become someone of influence, but I didn't see it. And then I read a quote online that said, sometimes you got to create what you want to be a part of. And that's when the change began. I was like, what if I became, an author, a person that speaks about the streets in a positive light, in an educative way. And it took confidence. It took me transitioning. It took really me believing in myself to write this book. And it took years actually to put it together, to piece it together, and to, have the courage to start writing. And there it was. I started writing in the second year of university, of a law degree. started writing young black males have potential because I wanted to go against the stereotypes that we are associated with. You know, I know that the portrayal of young black males has been demonized in the media, and I wanted to go against it. I didn't want to dwell on it. I didn't want to call the book anti-crime, anti-gang. I wanted to simply call it Young Black Males Have Potential. They just don't know it. They just need to tap into it. And also, I was speaking about some valuable issues that everyone around me, my circle of friends, direct circle of friends, was saying that needed to be recorded. And for me, the best way to do it in such an educative and formal way was through writing a book. And so here I was, second year of uni, writing my book. I started with chapters such as gangsterism. Where did it originate from? What is a gangster? Why do you become a gangster? The factors, the economical factors, you know, the household, so much things. Then I spoke about black on black crime, the envy, the hatred, the jealousy. Why is it that we kill each other? Police brutality, how it affects us. I had been stopped in search numerous times growing up. How it affected me. Then I had actually a chapter called stereotypes, how it affects us. How we are told we are not good. We are told we are failures. And we actually believe it. How the mind works, you know, through these stereotypes. I spoke about masculinity, what it means to be a man in society in deprived areas, emerging from deprived areas, you know, what it means to be violent, you know, how you gain your respect. Spoke about black hip-hop, how it affects us, the music nowadays, you know, the badness, how it's glorified and glamorized. And so, yeah, that's how I put this together, this book, this 10-chapter book. And it is what it is today. It's Young Black Males Have Potential.